comments. It's very powerful, and you're absolutely correct. Confidence is building every day. Ben, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. Ben Harnwell, international editor,
Thank you, Steve.
live from Italy. Thank you, Raheem. I want to go back to the beginning. Walk people through, and if we could put it up, a National Pulse has got this as its lead story. The link to it. Can you walk us through this blockbuster story in the Daily Telegraph today that you guys have summarized and put up on National Pulse?
Yeah, not to take anything away from the Daily Telegraph, but I understand it's behind a paywall, so a lot of people don't have access. But we have our own version of the story up at thenationalpulse.com right now, leading the site. Members of the British Parliament, specifically the Science and Technology Select Committee, were actually informed in the past couple of weeks by Dr. Alina Chan, a specialist in gene therapy and cell engineering from MIT and Harvard. And I'm just going to quote Dr. Chan here. She said, we have heard from many top virologists that a genetically engineered origin is reasonable, and that includes virologists who made modifications to the first SARS virus. She said, we know this virus has a unique feature called the furin cleavage site. And without this feature, there would be no way this would be causing a pandemic. Effectively, what Dr. Chan is saying here, and what she briefed members of parliament on, is that the lab, what they say, lab escape theory, lab leak theory, whatever you want to call it, is now the most likely scenario. I won't go into just how many times we've had to say this. The first show we did on this, actually, I believe we talked about that Wuhan Lab at length and discussed this at length. And all of the people who have been involved in talking about this for so very long, we've been maligned and called conspiracy theorists and backed into a corner by political establishment for the last couple of years. Now, this select committee inside the British Parliament has been told, actually, this lab escape theory and even a genetically engineered theory is the, quote, most likely for the COVID-19 virus.
Hold it. This comes from the very first episode. It's the reason we started this show. I just want to repeat that. Did this come up in the debate yesterday? Did anybody on that panel bring this up at all? About how this is genetically engineered, that this is essentially a bioweapon? Did that come up at all? Was a peep of that at all, or any of the news coverage on BBC or the Times of London or the Financial Times? But did anybody breathe a word of that yesterday in this huge debate that really changes the whole concept of liberty in the United Kingdom with a vaccine passport? Did that ever come up, Raheem Kassam?
No, it didn't. And there's a special credit to actually the Telegraph's reporting on this over the last couple of years, that they remain basically the only UK paper who's willing to stick their necks out and run stories like this. I was recently kind of talking to some friends about this and saying, you know, the interesting thing about having this conversation in America versus having it in Europe is that there are still European outlets that operate outside of the comfort zone of the established consensus. And the Telegraph is one of them, a mainstream newspaper, very, very well-respected newspaper that has just refused to take the government line and take the establishment line on all of these things. And that's why sometimes we have to, while sitting here on Capitol Hill, look across the Atlantic for some of this news. So, no, it wasn't brought up in the British Parliament, not to my knowledge. I mean, there were hours and hours of debates over the last couple of weeks, so maybe I missed something. But I feel like we would have heard about it. I certainly feel like I would have
this is the thing that's so scary, and this is what's happening here in this country. They keep talking about that. You don't hear any science. You don't hear any practical. How can we have allowed our nation to be in this situation of being economically and financially destroyed that we're doing to ourselves when it's obvious with scientists? And Dr. Chan is from MIT and Harvard. Is that correct, Raheem?
That's correct.
She's not from some community college. She's laying out the case that people know. This is, and by the way, National Pulse has done, it's Raheem Kassam and Natalie Winters that have done the most extraordinary reporting on this, and investigative reporting. How many articles do you have since we started War Room Pandemic on this? 250 or about topics related to this, Raheem Kassam?
Yeah, hundreds, easily hundreds. Maybe
Hundreds.
even, maybe even getting up to 1,000. I don't know, just at least hundreds.
And everyone connects out. Raheem, I realize we're taking a lot of your time, but just please stay over. I just want to finish this conversation on the other side of this break. Raheem Kassam will join us back as the Daily Telegraph reports genetically engineered and it leaked out of the Wuhan lab. Surprise. On the 15th of December, the year of our Lord 2021. Almost 2 years into this, ladies and gentlemen. If we can't stand up to this, we're not going to be able to stand up to anything. This is managed decline of the entire Judeo-Christian West. We'll return to the war room in a moment.